Hello class, my name is Tamar Wall and today I'll be talking to you about female gang members. So normally when you hear the word gang or gang members, the first gender you may think of is the male population. However, to your surprise, you'll come to find out that females highly participate in gang activity and are just as prevalent. So who they are. Before I get into female gang members, I think it's best that I define what a gang is. A gang is a group of associates, friends, or family members of a family with a defined leadership and internal organization that identifies with or claims control over a territory in a community and engages either individually or collectively in illegal and possibly violent behavior. Female gang members are females who have joined a gang, only operating with female gangs or mixed gender gangs. How do females join a gang? So normally females join a gang through initiation, where they either walk the line or pull a train. So walking the line is a form of a beating, where a female walks along a line of gang members where she must endure kicks or punches from each member trying to survive till the end. This can also be done in a circle. The next form of initiation would be pulling a train. This is where female gang members have sex with male gang members. This can also resemble rape, being that the female can either have sex between any number, which would be 5 gang members, all the way to all the gang members of a gang. And last but not least, after initiation, a female gang member would receive a tattoo, which would help identify that the gang member has been accepted into the gang and also show acceptance. Prevalence. We know from research conducted in May of 2017 that the total number of gang members in the U.S. is 1,150,000. 8% of this gang population is female. Population of female gang members used to be unknown, and unfortunately this issue of female gang members is of secondary or lesser significance for law enforcement. Characteristics. So a few characteristics from female gang members would be anti-authority. So anti-authority towards parents, teachers, or any type of law enforcement. They would normally come from broken homes. They would be victims of sexual assault. They would want or need to experience adult roles, which would basically show that they want independence. They would have issues with security, with identity, issues with involvement in everyday activities, which are normally school or work, issues with belief in moral values, and they would have a need for support outside of the norms. So a need for housing support, a need for family support, a need for everyday life support that they normally would be getting outside of the gang. They would go to the gang to receive this type of support. In a survey conducted in 2000 to determine why females join gangs, it was found that 71% based gang involvement on peer pressure, 70% rank protection, 68% approval from peers, and 66% are having troubles in the home. These are the crimes and percentages that female gangs are involved in. So drug trafficking, larceny, theft, assault, motor vehicle theft, threats, intimidation, robbery, burglary, and weapons trafficking. Diversity. So the number of street and prison gangs in the U.S. is 24,250. Out of that percentage, the percentage of gang members who are under 18 years of age is 40%. For the races that are within gangs, there are black gang members, Hispanic gang members, white gang members, Asian gang members, and a small percentage of other. Criminogenic need. So criminogenic need would be counseling, which we are familiar with, would be CBT and R&R, which we have learned throughout the semester. Substance abuse counseling, child care, parenting services, being that a lot of female gang members are single parents, healthcare, education, employment, and job training, being that a lot of female gang members drop out of school at a very young age. They do not have this type of education and employment and job training that they need. So if trying to get out of a gang, they would need this type of support in order to live an outside of gang life. And last but not least, housing. So past outlook and past treatment of the population. In the past, law enforcement agencies did not consider females who were associated with gang activities actual gang members, only accessories. Females have now surpassed being only an accomplice and moved up to filling a role equivalent to their male gang member counterparts. There has been little research on the involvement of females in gangs because researchers have been concentrated on male gang members and the severity of crimes they commit. Female criminal activity rate steadily increases over the years. So from 1993 to 2003, females arrests have increased by 12.3%, while male arrests have decreased by 6.7%. So some more about past treatment would be community outreach programs. Most treatment of female gang members has not been gender specific. They've had counseling with limited training from psychologists and counselors who've had limited training with female gang members, which would be very important if you are trying to change the lives of female gang members and gain their trust. And there is limited to no transition out of gang life. So the present treatment of population. So there has been a change slightly where researchers have been reaching out to policymakers to have an increase on gender-specific treatment. We have learned about gender-specific treatment in the past, which is very important when treating a certain gender and population, being that, for example, we're talking about female gang members. It is best to specifically treat female gang members based off of their criminogenic needs, because you cannot treat female gang members based off of male needs because clearly their needs are different. Communities and school offering programs for female gang offenders, social and human services that help the transition out of gang life, community collaboration with law enforcement agencies, and employment and vocational opportunities. So research, what works and what does not work. What works? Gender-specific treatment definitely works. Social and human services that help transition out of gang life. Employment and vocational opportunities. And what doesn't work? Ignoring gender-specific needs and ignoring multiple marginality. So what do I mean by multiple marginality? This means that female gang members, they suffer discrimination due to not only their limited economic and social opportunities, but also to their gender, ethnicity, and race. This cannot be ignored when treating this population, being that we already know that female gang members normally have a higher percentage of being in the minority, so they already have one strike against them being in the minority, being discriminated against. So this has to be known when coming up with treatment for female gang members in order to positively move forward. So measuring of treatment outcomes. I would say that to measure the treatment outcomes, we would require that counselors, psychologists track the number of female gang members within their program. They would also track how many of female gang members within the program are having a hard or easier time into transitioning out of gang life and why. We would also track how many female gang members are offenders and how many of them reoffend. What services were provided to these females, and why might not that have been helpful? What I would do to improve the treatment of female gang members would definitely be more focused on gender-specific treatment. Gender-specific treatment is highly important, and I feel like if we don't have gender-specific treatment, then there will be a negative outlook on how female gang offenders are reached. Training counselors, psychologists, and staff to be more culturally competent, as well as on the female gang population. Staff, counselors, psychologists need to be well aware of who they're dealing with and culturally competent with female gang members. Everyone is different. Everyone comes from different cultures. It's best to respect and understand what you are getting into before you go into treatment. Conduct more research on female gangs and offenders. There has been little research done on female gangs and female gang offenders. I had a very hard time trying to find out a lot of statistics on female gang offenders, and this is because during my research I've learned that lawmakers and policymakers just find it that female gang members are of very low importance, and even though some policymakers have made it their duty to have more research done, I've noticed that there has been little done, even though the crime rate of female criminal activity has increased. I would also suggest more resources for transition out of gang life. So I would suggest that there be more social resources as well as human resources that are available to female gang members when trying to transition out of gang life. As I said before, normally female gang members join a gang to get support, or due to peer pressure, or due to being victimized sexually, or problems at home. These are just a few. I feel like if there are more resources for female gang members where they feel like they don't need to find acceptance within a gang, this will possibly help them when trying to transition out of gang life. So I want to thank you for listening to my presentation today. I hope that I have given you a little bit of insight on female gang members. And once again, thank you.